So back in 1926, Nikola Tesla, a man who arguably invented the 20th century, made a statement that has basically baffled people for nearly 100 years now.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely one of his most famous.
Right. He said, and this is a direct quote, "If you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe."
And I mean, it's a quote that usually just gets slapped onto, inspirational posters, or it's used in those fringe internet videos about free energy and conspiracy theories.
Yep, totally. We tend to treat it like the eccentric rambling of a genius who, frankly, spent his final years feeding pigeons in a hotel room in New York.
Exactly. People just assume it's some sort of obscure numerology.
But what if it isn't?
Yeah.
What if we actually took Tesla's obsession with these specific numbers, his very specific, mathematically rigorous vortex geometry, and overlaid it onto a 3,000-year-old blueprint of the cosmos?
Because today, that is exactly what we are doing.
We are looking at a stack of sources that synthesize Tesla's 369 theory with the ancient Indian cosmic philosophy of the 4 Gunas and the 4 Akars. And when you do this, the math lines up.
It really does.
It doesn't just line up a little bit either.
Mhm.
It lines up flawlessly, mechanism for mechanism. And frankly, it might explain exactly why our modern society feels like it is currently breaking down.
Though I think we need to set a boundary right at the beginning of this analysis.
Fair enough. What kind of boundary?
Well, when you put, quantum physics or Tesla in the same sentence as ancient Eastern philosophy, there is this immediate and frankly justified reflex to roll your eyes.
Oh, absolutely. The New Age trap.
Right. The assumption is that we are going to play a game of loose metaphors, that we're going to look at some ancient poems, squint our eyes, and go, hey, look, that sounds like a particle accelerator.
Which we are absolutely not doing today.
We are not. The sources we are diving into present a highly structured, systemic, mechanical analysis of how reality is generated, maintained, and dissolved.
It's basically a schematic.
Exactly. The ancient texts do this by assigning very specific numerical values to cosmic forces, and Tesla did it by assigning specific numerical values to electromagnetic oscillation.
So our mission today is to test the structural integrity of this overlap. We're going to look under the hood of reality itself, using these two completely different sets of tools to see if they're actually working on the exact same engine.
And for you listening, the goal isn't just to learn some obscure math.
Right. Nobody wants just a math lesson.
No. The goal is to hand you that promised key. Because if you can understand the mechanics of the universe as these frameworks describe it, you can actually understand the architecture of your own daily life.
Your frustrations, your desires, the friction you feel every single day at work or at home.
Exactly. So let's start with the baseline. Before we can even touch Tesla's 3, 6, and 9, we have to understand the machine that generates those numbers in the first place.
Right. We need to talk about the hardware and the software of existence.
So the foundational concepts in the ancient texts are Guna and Akaar. If you don't understand these two things, nothing else in the 3-6-9 correlation is going to make any sense at all.
Okay, so let's define them. And we're doing this structurally, right? Not mythologically.
Strictly structurally. So in this context, Guna translates to Prakriti, which means nature.
But not like trees and oceans nature.
No. Think of energetic potential. It is the raw, vibrating, chaotic material of the universe. It's the energy.
Okay, got it.
And Akaar translates to Purush, which means form. This is the foundational consciousness. It's the static scaffolding that gives structure to that chaotic energy.
Okay, so I want to use a modern analogy here. Let me know if this holds up.
Sure, go for it.
If I am building a computer, the Akaar, the Purush, the form is the hardware. It's the silicon, the motherboard, the physical structure sitting right here on my desk.
Okay, yes.
It has immense capacity, but it doesn't actually do anything on its own. It just sits there. The Guna, the Prakriti, the nature, is the software and the electricity. It's the active code that actually runs through the hardware to produce an image on the screen.
It's a useful starting point, but it's a little incomplete.
And so?
Well, in a computer, the hardware and software are completely separate things manufactured in different factories, right? In this cosmic framework, they are deeply entwined states of existence. They are codependent.
Oh, I see.
But for the sake of visualizing the mechanics, yes, your analogy works. Purush provides the space and the structure. Prakriti provides the motion and the execution.
And the text explains that the universe doesn't just sit in one static state forever. It shifts through different operating systems based on whether these two forces are basically turned on or off.
Right. The sources use the terms prakat, meaning active or visible, and gudh, meaning hidden or dormant.
So it's an on-off binary.
Basically. Depending on the on and off state of nature and form, reality cycles through 4 distinct cosmic phases.
And those are Nirgun Sakar, Nirgun Nirakar, Sugun Sakar, and Sagun Nirakar.
Correct. And we will map Tesla's numbers to these specific states shortly. But first, we really need to understand the cast of forces that operate within these systems.
And this is where I think people get really tripped up, because the texts introduce what we normally consider to be mythological deities, right? Vishnu, Brahma, Shiv.
Yeah, that's where people usually check out or misunderstand it.
Right. But the sources we're analyzing today aggressively strip away that mythology.
Right.
We aren't looking at characters with beards and complex personalities in the clouds.
No, we are looking at personifications of cosmic functions. They are literally gears in the clock.
If you get bogged down in the religious iconography, you completely miss the physics being described.
Exactly. Let's break down the functional roles one by one. First, we have Vishnu.
Okay.
In this system, Vishnu represents the primary Purush. He is the absolute base of creation, the ultimate hardware in your analogy.
The text actually uses this striking imagery of Vishnu sleeping on a cosmic serpent in a vast ocean, and when he blinks, creation begins.
Right. So mechanically, he is the ontological baseline. He is the mainframe itself.
Okay, so the mainframe. Got it.
Yes. But importantly, the mainframe doesn't build the applications. That brings us to Brahma.
Who is born from nature, right? The text says he emerges from a lotus growing out of Vishnu's navel.
Exactly. In our mechanical framework, Brahma represents the dev or divine element. He is the active processor.
So he takes the raw potential of the universe and formats it.
Yes, he is described as creating individual universes within the petals of that lotus.
It's incredibly fractal when you think about it. A universe inside a petal, inside a lotus, growing out of the mainframe.
It's a very advanced geometric concept, actually.
But wait, if Vishnu is the hardware and Brahma is the processor, where does Shiv fit in? Because, like in popular culture, Shiv is almost always called the destroyer.
Which is a vast, vast oversimplification. In the framework we are looking at today, Shiv acts as the ultimate independent variable.
What do you mean by independent variable?
Well, unlike Vishnu and Brahma, whose functions are entirely tied to the mechanics of Purush and Prakriti, the hardware and software Shiv exists completely detached from Prakriti. He is completely outside the 4 operating states.
But how can something be outside the operating system of the entire universe?
Think of it as the underlying field. The text describes Shiv as the or the pran, which means the vital life force.
Oh, okay.
He connects all dimensions and galaxies regardless of whether the universe is currently manifested or dissolved.
Ah, so going back to my technology analogy, which I know you said is a bit limited, but bear with me. If Vishnu is the computer and Brahma is the processor, Shiv is the electromagnetic field itself in the room.
Oh, that's good.
Right. It doesn't matter if your specific computer is turned on or off, or if it's running a program or completely unplugged.
Yeah.
The electromagnetic field is still there, permeating the room, completely independent of the machine.
That is a much better refinement of your analogy, actually.
Yes.
Shiv is the medium through which the possibility of the machine even exists in the first place.
Perfect. Okay, so who's left?
Finally, to complete the system, we have the active energy. If Vishnu is the hardware, the Purush, then we have Vaishnavi.
Vaishnavi.
She is the active power of nature, the Prakriti. She is the energy that actually executes the commands. And the text specifies that she operates in 3 distinct functional forms.
Right, the 3 gunas in action, Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Shakti. And I want to pause here for a second, because usually when we hear about these 3, they are translated as purity, action, and destruction, right? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas.
Yes, that's the common translation.
But those words feel heavily loaded with human morality. Like purity is obviously good, and destruction is obviously bad.
And that is a Western moral overlay that completely corrupts the actual meaning of the text. Yes, these are mechanical properties, not moral judgments. Let's define them accurately. Saraswati represents sattva. This isn't just moral purity. It is clarity, coherence, and knowledge. It is the pure signal without the noise.
Okay, coherence.
Then Lakshmi represents rajas. This is motion, kinetic energy, action, and expansion. It is the force that literally makes things happen.
So momentum.
Exactly. And finally, Shakti represents tamas.
Which is the one that always gets translated as destruction or darkness, right?
Yes, but mechanically, tamas is inertia. It is resistance. It is the binding force of the universe.
Like binding force.
Yes. Without tamas, nothing would hold a physical shape. Your physical body right now is held together by tamas. The gravity holding the Earth in orbit around the sun requires that binding, dense property.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it that way.
It's not evil, it's a structural necessity. You cannot build a physical universe out of just light and motion. You need density, you need friction.
Okay, that completely changes how I view this entire philosophy.
Mm.
So Vaishnavi, this cosmic software, uses clarity, motion, and density to actually build the universe.
Precisely.
And there's this really fascinating detail in the source text about where she actually operates. It says that outside of a galaxy, out in the vast empty voids of space, the Purush, or hardware, is dominant. Nature of the software is barely active out there.
Right, the text actually assigns it a fractional mathematical value of 0.5 in the void.
But inside a galaxy where stars are burning and planets are forming and life exists, Vaishnavi becomes the dominant force.
Because that is where all the actual work is happening.
Yeah.
The hardware provides the space, the empty void, but the software does the execution inside the galaxy.
Okay, so to summarize the architecture really quick before we finally bring in the mathematics, we have Vishnu as the foundational hardware, Brahma as the active processor, Shiv as the independent underlying field, and Vaishnavi as the tripartite software of clarity, motion, and density that actually executes our reality.
That's the complete cosmic motherboard. We've got the pieces.
Awesome. Now, I want to bring Nikola Tesla into the room, because this is where the text's mechanical framework collides with 20th century physics in a way that just blew my mind.
Let's do it. Let's look at the magnificence of the number 9.
Yes. To do this, we need to understand what Tesla meant by these numbers. He wasn't just pulling them out of thin air, was he?
Not at all. In Tesla's vortex mathematics, the number 9 is the supreme number. It is fundamentally different from all the other digits.
How so?
It represents the ultimate, unchanging code of the universe. It is the symbol of absolute symmetry, perfection, and the unmanifested source.
And the mathematical proof he loved to point to, which is also heavily referenced in esoteric geometry, is the circle, right?
Yes, the circle represents totality. It is complete. It has 360 degrees.
And if you take those digits and add them up, 3 plus 6 plus 0, you get 9.
Right. And the defining characteristic of the 9 is that its symmetry holds no matter how much you divide that totality.
Okay, walk me through that.
If you split the 360-degree circle perfectly in half, you get 180 degrees. 1 plus 8 plus 0 equals 9.
Okay.
Split it in half again to 90 degrees. 9 plus 0 is 9. Cut it in half to 45 degrees. 4 plus 5 is 9. Cut it to 22.5. 2 plus 2 plus 5 is 9.
It just keeps going.
It goes on infinitely. The 9 is immutable. It is the singular, unified source from which all other geometry emerges, yet it never loses its own structural integrity.
I always used to think that was just like a quirk of our base 10 number system. Like, it's just a neat math trick you learn in 3rd grade.
It's really easy to dismiss it as a base 10 artifact until you realize that base 10 itself is derived from the geometric reality of nature, not the other way around. Tesla argued that 9 wasn't just a symbol, it was the literal blueprint of energy in a state of absolute unity.
Okay, so Tesla says 9 is perfect, unchanging unity. Now, let's pull out the ancient Indian blueprint. How does this map onto those 4 cosmic operating systems we talked about earlier?
It maps perfectly onto the very first, highest state of creation. The text calls this Nirgun Sakar.
Let's break that word down for everyone. Nirgun. Nir meaning without, gun meaning the gunas, the nature. So the software is hidden or without attributes.
Correct.
And Sakar. Sam meaning with, Akaar meaning form. So the form, the hardware, is active.
Yes. In the Nirgun Sakar state, Prakriti nature is hidden, but Purush form is active. This is the stage of ultimate origin.
So what does reality actually look like in this state?
Well, the text explains that in this state there is no physical matter at all. There is no duality. Instead, the ultimate Atma, the universal soul or consciousness, is formed by the perfect union of 3 distinct elements.
And those 3 elements are Jivatma, Paramatma, and Parmeshwar. Now, I need to explain these because I know this is where texts like this usually lose people in abstract theology. What are these 3 things mechanically?
Think of them as scales of consciousness. Jivatma is the individual consciousness. It is the localized point of awareness.
You or me.
Exactly. Then Paramatma is the supreme or collective consciousness. It's the aggregate of all localized points.
Okay.
And finally, Parmeshwar is the ultimate Godhead, or the foundational capacity for consciousness to exist at all.
Okay, let me try an analogy. Jivatma is a single drop of water. Paramatma is the entire ocean, and Parmeshwar is the chemical concept of H2O itself, the actual law of physics that allows water to exist.
That is an excellent way to visualize it. Now, in the Nirgan-Sakar state, these three levels are not separate, they are perfectly united. And this is exactly where the mathematics of the nine emerges in the ancient texts.
Right. Let's get into the math, because this is the core of the correlation we're looking at today. How does the ancient text calculate a 9 here?
Well, remember that Vishnu, the hardware, guides this union, but Vishnu doesn't do the active work. His energy, Vaishnavi, does.
The software.
Right. To unite the drop, the ocean, and the concept of water, the Jivatma, Paramatma, and Parmeshwar Vaishnavi must operate across all three of these levels simultaneously.
So she is running the software on all three scales of existence at the exact same time.
Yes. There is a specific manifestation of Vishnu's foundational form at the Jivatma level, the Paramatma level, and the Parmeshwar level. That is 3 levels. And the text states that at each of those 3 levels, Vaishnavi deploys all 3 of her operational forms. Saraswati for clarity, Lakshmi for motion, and Shakti for density.
Okay, wait. Let me stop you right here, because I see exactly where you're going with the math.
Go ahead.
You have 3 distinct levels of existence and 3 active forms of energy at each level. 3 times 3 equals 9.
Exactly. The total mathematical value of Vaishnavi, the total value of active cosmic energy in this supreme unified state is exactly 9.
But I'm going to push back on this, because if I am a skeptical listener right now, my alarm bells are totally ringing.
I'd be worried if they weren't. What's the issue?
You just said she operates her 3 forms on 3 different levels. Why are we multiplying them? Why isn't it 3 plus 3 plus 3? If I have 3 apples on 3 different tables, I have 9 apples, sure, but I added them. If we are multiplying them here, it feels like a really convenient way to just force the math to equal Tesla's 9. Is there a mechanical justification for multiplication?
That is the exact right question to ask.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a profound mechanical justification. You are thinking in terms of linear space apples sitting on a table.
Right.
But we are describing a state of perfect unity here. Unity doesn't stack linearly, it scales dimensionally.
What do you mean by scaling dimensionally?
When you are describing a single unified state, the forces are compounding, they are interacting, and they are permeating each other, not just sitting side by side.
Oh, I think I see.
If you have a room with length, width, and height, you don't add them together to find the volume of the room, you multiply them. 3 times 3. Because they are interdependent dimensions of a single unified space.
Wow. Okay.
The Nirgan-Sakar state is not 3 separate things happening next to each other. It is a dimensional scaling of unity. Therefore, the forces compound mathematically, 3 times 3.
Okay, that actually makes complete mechanical sense.
Yeah.
I usually assume this kind of ancient numbering is just, poetic playing with numbers until they sound profound.
Yeah.
But this implies a rigid geometric logic, a dimensional logic.
It is entirely geometric. Nikola Tesla, sitting in a lab looking at electromagnetic frequencies, realizes that 9 represents absolute undivided unity. Thousands of years earlier, Vedic philosophers calculate that when the universe is in its most unified, undivided state, the compounding value of its forces is exactly 9. It is literally the same architectural code.
So, connecting this back to the reality of the person listening to this right now, we aren't just talking about cosmic geometry out in space.
Yeah.
The sources suggest this exact architecture exists inside the human mind.
It does. Think about human psychology for a second. Have you ever felt a deep, almost inexplicable yearning for completeness? A desire for perfect alignment where your thoughts, your actions, and your sense of purpose all just feel like one single unified thing?
Yes, of course, we all chase that. It's the flow state, it's inner peace.
According to this framework, that desire isn't just a poetic emotion, it is your consciousness, your jivatma, instinctively trying to return to its foundational mathematical state.
That is wild.
You are fundamentally seeking the 9. You are trying to align your personal operating system with the Nirgan-Sakar state, where the underlying code of reality is completely unified.
But here is the massive logical problem with the 9. If 9 is this state of absolute, unbreakable perfection, well, perfect things don't change. A perfect circle just sits there, being perfect forever.
True.
So how do we get from a static perfect 9 to a universe where planets spin, stars explode, economies crash, and humans constantly argue with each other?
Yeah.
How do we actually get a story?
To get a story, we have to break the symmetry. We have to downgrade the operating system from unity to duality. And this brings us to Tesla's next set of numbers. We have to move from the 9 down to the 6 and the 3.
Tesla's 3 and 6.
Yeah.
In his vortex math, what do these numbers actually represent?
Well, while 9 represents the unmanifested perfection, Tesla believed that 3 and 6 represent physical material duality. They are the oscillating rhythm of the physical world.
Like the push and pull.
Exactly. They are the positive and negative terminals of a battery. They are the north and south poles of a magnet. They represent the continuous vibration back and forth that keeps the physical universe in motion.
So without the 3 and the 6, nothing happens.
Right. Without the duality of the 3 and the 6, you just have static perfection.
Yeah.
With them, you have a dynamic, physical, moving reality.
Okay, so Tesla says 6 is the number of material duality and oscillation. Let's look back at our cosmic blueprint. We are leaving the perfection of Nirgun-Sakar. What is the next operating system?
We shift into the Sagun-Sakar state.
Let me translate again. Sagun, sa meaning with, gun meaning nature. So the software is active.
Yes.
Sakar, with form. The hardware is active too.
Exactly. In this operating system, both Prakriti, nature, and Purush form are fully powered up and running simultaneously.
Right.
And because the software of nature is now fully active, something new happens. Brahma, the processor, the dev element, finally wakes up and becomes manifest in the universe.
The processor is turned on. So what is the very first thing Brahma does?
Because he operates in an active natural world, the text states that the very first action of Brahma is to create two distinct poles. He splits reality into what the text calls Ved and Viprit Ved.
Ved means knowledge, right? So Viprit Ved would mean opposite knowledge.
Yes. A primary thesis and its exact antithesis. He creates the fundamental duality required for a physical existence to operate. He creates the positive and negative terminals.
And this is where we need to look at the math again, right?
Okay.
Because the energy requirements of the universe have just fundamentally changed.
Exactly. Because there are now two distinct separate poles, Vaishnavi, the active energy, the software must deploy her energy to manage both of them simultaneously.
Okay, let's do the math.
She deploys her three forms, clarity, motion, and density, to govern the positive Ved pole. And she simultaneously deploys her three forms to govern the negative Viprit Ved pole.
Okay, 3 forms on the positive side, 3 forms on the negative side. And here's where I'm going to apply the logic you taught me 5 minutes ago.
Let's hear it.
In the 9 state, we multiplied because it was a unified dimension. But here, we have 2 completely separate opposing poles. They aren't unified at all, so we don't multiply. We add them.
Precisely. A pole cannot compound with its opposite pole or it annihilates itself. They must remain completely separate, sitting on opposite sides of the spectrum, adding to the total tension of the system.
So it is linear, 3 plus 3.
Yes. 3 plus 3 equals 6. In the Sagun-Sakar state, the total value of active cosmic energy is exactly 6.
Wow.
Tesla's mathematical number for physical oscillating duality flawlessly matches the ancient text's numerical value for the cosmic state of duality.
I want to make sure the listener really grasps what this means for them personally. Brahma creating these 2 poles isn't just abstract cosmic plumbing. Are we saying that all human suffering, all the friction we experience daily, is literally a mathematical requirement of the number 6?
According to this synthesis, yes. The Hindu philosophical concept for this is Dvaita, which means duality. The text explicitly asserts that this duality is the exact mechanism that creates joy, sorrow, shifting life circumstances, and even the human desire for meaning.
This completely reframes how we view hardship. Because usually when something goes wrong, when we lose a job or a relationship ends, or we just feel completely frustrated, we think something in the universe is broken, we think we are being punished, or that we failed somehow.
But the mathematics of the 6 tells you the exact opposite. It tells you the cosmic engine is running exactly as it was designed to run. You cannot have a functioning physical universe without the tension of the 6.
It's required friction.
Yes. If you have an electric motor, it cannot spin without a north and a south magnetic pole resisting each other. Without joy and sorrow, human consciousness cannot expand. It is the friction that allows the story of your life to exist.
Because if everything was a 9, there would be no story. It would just be a blank, perfect page. The 6 is the ink.
That's a beautiful way to put it, actually. The 6 is not a flaw in the system. It is the designed friction that makes the physical world dynamic. When you finally get that promotion you wanted, and 2 weeks later you are stressed out of your mind about all the new responsibilities, you were just caught in the oscillation of the 6, you move from the positive terminal to the negative terminal.
It's so validating to hear it put that way. So, okay, we have the perfect unified creation of the 9 and the messy, dynamic physical world of the 6. But every computer, to use my earlier analogy again, needs to be put to sleep eventually. What happens to the universe when the system is put on standby? What happens in the absolute void?
We enter the third operating state, Nirgun Nirakar.
Let's translate. Nirgun. No nature. The software is off. Nirakar. No form. The hardware is off.
Correct. Both Prakriti and Purush are entirely hidden. In this state, Vishnu the hardware and Brahma the processor withdraw and become completely unmanifested. The screen basically goes black.
But wait, if the hardware and the software are both off, does the universe just cease to exist? Does reality just delete itself?
This is where we bring back Shiv. Remember when we identified him earlier as the independent variable? The electromagnetic field.
Right, because he isn't tied to the gunas. He isn't the hardware or the software.
Exactly. When the system powers down, Shiv remains. The text states that in this absolute void, the potential for the universe is sustained entirely by Shiv. He moves freely through dimensions because he's completely unattached to nature. He is the vital breath that holds the space open even when the cosmic system is at zero.
Okay, so what is the mathematical value of the universe in this void state?
Well, let's look at the logic. Vishnu is hidden, and Shiv, who remains, is entirely unattached to nature. Therefore, Vaishnavi, the active energy of nature, has nothing to operate on and no hardware to direct her. Her functional value drops to absolute zero.
Zero. So we are at zero. But Tesla's triad is 3, 6, and 9. Where does the 3 fit into this void? If the system is at zero, how do you restart it, or how do you navigate it?
This is perhaps the most practical, actionable application for the listener today. In Tesla's view, the 3 represents the initial vector. It is the first vibration, the fundamental pathway that allows energy to begin moving out of the void.
There's the spark.
It is the spark that initiates the oscillation of the 6 and ultimately can lead back to the perfection of the 9.
It's the escape velocity.
Yes. And the ancient texts provide a really profound human parallel to this. How does a human consciousness navigate the absolute zero state? How do ancient sages and seekers interact with the Nirga-Nirakar void?
I have no idea. How do they?
The text explains that in the deepest guru-disciple traditions, a seeker does not try to grasp the entire universe. They don't try to understand the 6 or the 9. Instead, they spend their entire lives practicing and mastering just one of the 3 forms of Vaishnavi.
Wait, really? They just pick one? They don't try to balance all of them?
No. They choose to master either sattva, which is clarity, rajas, which is motion, or tamas, which is density. By isolating and perfectly mastering just one of these 3 fundamental vibrations, they create a singular pathway for themselves through the void.
Okay, let me try another analogy to wrap my head around this. If the zero state is like being trapped in a pitch black, infinitely large room, mastering the 3, just one single guna, is like turning on a laser pointer.
Okay, I'm following.
It doesn't light up the whole room, you still can't see the walls, but it gives you a single, intense, coherent vector to follow so you can finally find the exit.
The laser pointer analogy is very close, but we need to tweak it just a bit to make it accurate to the text.
Okay, tweak away.
A laser pointer implies you are holding a tool separate from yourself. In this discipline, mastering the 3 means you become the coherent light. You don't just point a laser. You strip away all other frequencies in your own mind and body until you are only vibrating at sattva, or only at tamas. You become the vector.
That is incredibly difficult to even conceptualize. We are so used to multitasking, to trying to balance our work life, our spiritual life, our physical health all at once.
Which is exactly why we are trapped in the oscillation of the 6. In a modern world defined by overwhelming duality, where we are constantly bombarded by information, opposing viewpoints, and emotional friction, reducing your entire mental focus to a single pure vibration seems totally impossible.
It really does.
But it is the ancient blueprint for clarity. The 3 is your vector of escape. It is the focused discipline that cuts through the noise of the 6.
Okay, so we have the complete 3-6-9 mathematical map now, and it overlays flawlessly onto the cosmic architecture. We have the 9 of supreme unified creation. We have the 6 of human duality and physical friction. We have the 0, the void. And we have the 3 as the pathway out.
It is a brilliant structural map.
But it's static, right? How does this map actually move through time? Because the universe isn't a static image. It has a history.
You're right. This isn't just a spatial map. It's a chronological clock. And this is where the structural analysis becomes deeply historical. The text maps these 4 operating states onto the concept of yugas, which are vast, sweeping epochs of time.
We're talking about periods that last hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, right?
Yes. The cosmic cycle is divided into 4 main eras. The first 2 are Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga. During these massive epochs, the Purush, or hardware, is dominant. The universe is operating primarily in the higher states,
Yeah.
the Nirgan Sakar, the 9, and the Nirgan Nirakar, the 0 or 3.
So during these eras, humanity, or whatever consciousness exists at that time, is much closer to the source code. It's a time of profound stability and high consciousness.
Yes. It is an era characterized by an innate understanding of the nine. But time is a mechanism of the universe, and the cycle demands a shift. Perfection must eventually yield to motion.
Because this is...
Exactly. The next two eras in the cycle are Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. In these epochs, the balance shifts. Prakriti, or active nature, becomes the dominant force. The universe shifts heavily into the Sagun Sakar state, the duality of the six.
Friction begins.
Exactly. And eventually, as the cycle progresses, it shifts into the fourth and final, most complex state, Sagun Nirakar.
Okay, I want to slow down here for a minute, because the text we are analyzing issues a very specific, almost chilling warning about where we are right now on this cosmic clock.
It really does.
It states that for the last 1700 to 1800 years, roughly since the fall of antiquity around 200 to 300 AD, a time when global empires collapsed and human consciousness seemed to just shift humanity, has been in a transition period, moving deeply into Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga is dominated by this final state, Sagun Nirakar.
Which is why we must analyze the mathematics of this final state. It explains the exact societal decay the text predicts. Let's look at the terms. Sagun. Nature is active, the software is running. Nirakar. The form is hidden. The foundational hardware is completely inaccessible.
So the software is running wild, but the underlying stabilizing structure is just gone.
Correct. But remember, because nature is active, Brahma, the processor, is still present and functioning. But because the stabilizing foundation of Vishnu is hidden, a severe structural imbalance occurs in the duality that Brahma created.
The two poles, the Ved and the Viprit Ved,
Uh-huh.
the knowledge and the opposite knowledge, what happens to them?
The text states that without the stabilizing Purush, the primary pole, Ved the true knowledge, the thesis becomes inactive. It goes completely dormant.
Wow.
This leaves only one pole remaining active in the entire universe. The Viprit Ved, the antithetical knowledge, the negative terminal.
Wait, but if there is only one pole, how does the math work? The oscillation has to stop, right?
Exactly. The oscillation stops, the balance is entirely gone. Vaishnavi, the active energy, is now forced to operate solely on that single remaining pole.
So what's her value?
Well, she deploys her three forms, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Shakti, only through the lens of Viprit Ved. Therefore, the mathematical value of the universe in this state drops from a balanced 6 down to an unbalanced singular 3.
Just a 3. The entire system is running purely on the negative pole. So what does the text say actually happens to human society when the cosmic engine runs purely on Viprit Ved? What does a 3 society look like on the ground?
The source material is remarkably explicit about the societal symptoms of this mathematical imbalance. It states that when Viprit Ved dominates, society experiences a profound systemic rise in mutual hatred, division, and tribalism.
That sounds incredibly familiar.
Right. Because the unifying 9 is completely forgotten and the balancing 6 is broken, people can only view each other through the lens of opposition.
And it mentions a severe degradation of knowledge.
Right. It predicts the gradual loss of written language, or at least the degradation of language's ability to convey profound truth. True, foundational knowledge is obscured, replaced by superficial or weaponized information.
It also mentions a shift in how humans interact with the divine, or how they seek meaning. And I want to be careful how we frame this, because we aren't here to make ethical judgments. We're just impartially reporting the structural claims of the text.
That's a vital distinction. The text doesn't say these things are evil in a moral sense. It categorizes them as structural symptoms of the Viprit Ved taking over.
Right.
Because the direct path to the Purush, the 9, is obscured, the text claims society inevitably turns toward occult practices. It specifically lists the rise of Tantra, ancestral worship, and the worship of minor fragmented deities through geometric symbols or yantras, rather than engaging with profound unified philosophy. It also notes an increase in blood-based or darker transactional rituals.
It's basically saying that because the Wi-Fi router is hidden, people start worshiping the electrical outlets.
Exactly.
They look for any scrap of localized power because the main line is completely inaccessible.
That is a very apt way to describe the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
They are utilizing the fragmented 3 because the 9 is gone.
The text even provides a historical example of this happening in a previous cycle. Because this isn't the first time the clock has hit this hour, obviously. It mentions the sages of the Naimisharanya forest.
Yes, the Naimisharanya sages.
According to the text, thousands of years ago, during a similar deep phase of the Kali Yuga, true knowledge and even the structure of the Sanskrit language were on the verge of being entirely lost to humanity.
Right. The mathematical decay was reaching its absolute nadir.
And those specific sages realized what time it was on the cosmic clock. They had to retreat deep into the Naimisharanya forest to preserve the Vedic knowledge through immense, dedicated practice. They essentially had to build an ark for human consciousness, hoarding the knowledge of the Naimion until the cycle eventually turned again.
Which perfectly synthesizes our entire discussion today. When you observe the world today, when you scroll through your phone and see profound societal polarization, the complete breakdown of shared objective truth, or that lingering anxiety that profound human knowledge is somehow slipping away into superficiality.
You aren't just watching random, bad historical luck. You aren't just watching a bad political cycle.
According to the synthesis, you are watching the math play out. You are witnessing the systemic, cosmic shift from the dynamic, oscillating balance of the six down to the unbalanced, single-pole reality of the three. It is a structural inevitability of the Saga-Nirakar state.
That is simultaneously terrifying because it implies an inevitability, but it's also incredibly clarifying.
How so?
It takes the sheer chaos of the daily news cycle, the anxiety we all feel about the future, and it places it inside a massive, predictable mathematical clock. It says, yes, the machine is rattling, but it's rattling exactly the way it was engineered to rattle at this stage.
Clarity is the antidote to anxiety. Understanding the mechanism doesn't stop the machine, but it stops you from being crushed by it blindly.
We have covered an immense amount of ground today. We started with Nikola Tesla in a hotel room in the 1920s, claiming that 3, 6, and 9 were the keys to the universe. And we took his numbers, his geometric logic of unity and duality, and overlaid them onto an ancient Indian architectural blueprint of the cosmos.
And we found a mechanism that is flawlessly consistent across both frameworks. The 9 represents Nirgun Sakar, the supreme, dimensionally unified state of creation, where the forces of nature operate perfectly across all scales of consciousness.
The 6 represents Saga and Sakar, the necessary physical duality, the positive and negative poles that creates the friction required for human experience, for joy and for sorrow.
The 0 is the void, sustained only by the independent field of Shiv, and the 3 represents both the intense, singular spiritual vector required to navigate that void and the unbalanced, single-pole state of societal decline we find ourselves navigating in the Kali Yuga.
It is stunning. And for you listening to this right now, we really want to emphasize that this is not just abstract ivory tower philosophy. This knowledge is a highly practical tool. It is a lens you can put over your own eyes right now to view your own life.
Exactly. The value of this deep dive is application. When you are feeling torn apart by the conflicts and frictions of your daily life, when you feel like you're being pulled in 2 directions at once, you can recognize that you are simply experiencing the 6.
You don't have to fix it.
No, you just have to ride the oscillation. It is the necessary duality of the physical world.
And when you feel completely lost in the dark, overwhelmed by the chaos of a 3 society, you know that you must find your own 3, so your single vector of focus, your discipline to navigate out.
And finally, when you crave peace, when you feel that ache for wholeness, you can understand that your consciousness isn't just being romantic. It is fundamentally trying to return to the perfect geometric unity of the 9. Understanding which mathematical state you are currently wrestling with can entirely reframe how you handle the challenges in front of you.
It gives you the blueprint to your own reality. Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with. Something for you to chew on long after this deep dive ends. We started this conversation by talking about looking under the hood of reality. We brought together an ancient civilization that used meditation and philosophy, and a 20th century scientific visionary who used coils, electricity, and mathematics.
2 entirely different methods of human inquiry.
Exactly. Separated by thousands of years, completely different cultures, and entirely different vocabularies, and yet they managed to arrive at the exact same mathematical code for the structure of the universe.
It's incredible to think about.
So my question to you is this. If the blueprint for Tesla's 369 was sitting in ancient Vedic texts all along, what other undiscovered laws of modern physics, what cures, what foundational truths about reality are currently sitting in ancient philosophical texts right now, just waiting for someone with the right lens to finally translate them?
A profound question to end on. It suggests our past might hold the absolute keys to our future.
Thanks for taking the deep dive with us today.